I don't usually show my face that much on this channel, but this is one of those rare moments where I feel like I should in order to set the mood for the film that I'm about to talk about. Because the movie at the bottom spot on this list is horrible. It's cringy, and it spits on the legacy of some of the most iconic cartoon characters ever created. This WAG movie is so bad that I think it's among some of the worst movies I've ever seen. Yeah, it's that bad. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the worst Warner Animation Group movie that I've ever seen is the 2021 Tom and Jerry movie. I f***ing hate this movie, and there are so many contributing factors as to why. But before I rip and tear this film apart, is there anything worth praising in it? Well, kinda, but that's also not saying much considering there's a caveat to each positive. You can't see it, but I'm using air quotes. On its own, the 3D animation done for Tom, Jerry, and the rest of the animals doesn't look bad. There's solid squash and stretch, and a lot of expressive character work. You can tell that the animators are talented. But at the same time, the rendering makes the visuals look unfinished, and the composition is awful. These animated characters do not blend well with the live-action actors and environments. And then the other slightly positive aspect of the movie is the slapstick comedy from Tom and Jerry. When they do chase each other, it can be fun and entertaining in short bursts. However, their slapstick is nothing new, and more often than not, it gets interrupted by the human characters taking up screen time. Also, the music does not sync well with the gags, and rather than having the classical music that worked so well in the shorts and TV shows, we get unfitting hip-hop songs. See what I mean? All of those good parts of the film had some sort of caveat to them. And now that all of my positive feelings towards this movie are gone, time to talk about the shit! Also, you know this movie is going to be a train wreck when in the first minute, there's rapping pigeons and a shit joke. So, in a film called Tom and Jerry, you'd expect the movie to focus on Tom and Jerry's antics, right? And at first, it does seem to go in that direction, with Tom wanting to be a musician and Jerry looking for a new home in New York City. But don't get your hopes up, because then Tom and Jerry get sidelined for a much worse story, where we get a dreadfully boring subplot about a hotel hosting a wedding that drags on and on and on and on, which focuses entirely on human characters nobody gives a f*** about. It's a soulless, meandering plotline that has so many tired tropes and cliches shoved into it. The liar revealed plot, the third act breakup, the misunderstandings, the main character messing up at the start only to come back to solve everything at the end. It's just so frustrating to see how formulaic and god-awful the writing is. And wait, if Tom and Jerry aren't the main characters, who is? Well, we've got one of the most despicable and hateable protagonists I've ever seen in a movie, Kayla, played by Chloe Grace Moretz. She is literally the dictionary definition of a con artist, and her introductory scene has her get fired from her previous job, entering the hotel and manipulating this accomplished woman from London into leaving her interview, steals her resume, and then goes to the front desk to get a job at the hotel, all because she wanted to be involved in her favorite Instagram couple's wedding. And this is the protagonist? I think she's the antagonist. Kayla is a self-centered bitch who gets away with everything, suffers no consequences for her actions, and lies her way into every situation. Easily one of the most unlikable characters I've ever witnessed in a movie. And then the rest of the characters aren't much better, including Tom and Jerry. In the past, Tom is usually the one that causes trouble for Jerry, and then Jerry tries to get out of said trouble, all while showcasing a frenemy relationship. But in this movie, Tom is just an aspiring musician, and Jerry is just a constant dick throughout the entire movie, getting in Tom's way, stealing a bunch of shit just for himself, and forcing Tom to chase him, rather than the interactions between them causing the conflict. Like, fuck off, Jerry. I get you want a new home, but you don't need to be an asshole to achieve that goal. Usually Tom is the asshole. This baffling characterization makes Tom and Jerry pretty annoying when in other Tom and Jerry media, their antics make them likable, entertaining, and their goals clear. Okay, so the main and animated characters suck, and somehow the rest of the human cast is even worse. Terrence, played by Michael Pena, is this manager who keeps flip-flopping between being a dumb villain or a confused background character, making him quite the nuisance. The boss, played by Rob Delaney, is just a giant idiot. The groom in the couple is annoying since he has his head so far up his ass, and then everyone else is forgettable. I can't even remember the name of the bride, the chef is just a one-note angry perfectionist, and the remaining humans are only there for gag purposes. successes. Oh, and did I forget to mention that the acting is terrible? Everyone is either underacting or overacting, and good lord, this movie has some of the worst comedic writing I've ever seen. Outside of the occasional slapstick, every attempt at a joke is insufferable. The awkward lines, the potty humor, the flossing, the references to TikTok. This film tries to be funny so much, and yet it never works, making the comedy agonizingly bad, and the tone very cringy. This movie doesn't even have any so bad it's good kind of jokes. Every attempt at making the audience laugh, minus the decent slapstick, is bad. Everything is bad. This movie is actual hell. It baffles me that the studio that made the Lego Movie as its first movie eventually made something like this. The 2021 Tom and Jerry movie has nothing redeeming about it. The story is predictable and drags on for far too long. The animation looks unpolished and doesn't mix well with live action. The comedy is atrocious, and the decent at best gags from Tom and Jerry isn't enough to save the humor. And then the characters are all dreadful. Tom and Jerry feel mischaracterized, and everyone else is a pain to watch, especially the leads. There is legitimately no reason to watch this movie. If you want worthwhile Tom and Jerry content, just go watch the shorts. And if you want an ironically funny film, watch the 1992 Tom and Jerry movie instead. Yes, that film also sidelines Tom and Jerry, but at least its human characters don't get on your nerves, and on top of that, the movie has its charm because of Tom and Jerry speaking. And there's a bunch of ironically funny moments. Remember this meme?
We've got to have money.
Yeah. That came from this movie. The 1992 Tom and Jerry film is an entertaining blunder. You can't say the same thing about this catastrophe. I fucking despise this movie so much, and the only reason people even remember this film nowadays is because of an infamous social media user who praises his film like as if it's the Mona Lisa, doesn't respect other people's opinions, and has horrible takes on the animation industry. And no, I'm not gonna say the name of this infamous user. They don't deserve it. Like I said at the beginning of this segment, this is among the worst movies I've ever seen. It's not the absolute worst, since there's no gross fetish humor like in Marmaduke or the Sandy Cheeks movie, and there's no blatant product placement like in the aforementioned Space Jam 2, among others. But at the end of the day, it's still a terrible film that's as bad as those other movies for taking these legacy characters and dragging them through a pile of dog shit. Literally.
How many burritos did you eat?
The 2021 Tom and Jerry movie is completely worthless. Do not ever watch it. Even if you're mildly curious, don't do it, because you're gonna save yourself from 101 minutes of pure torture.